Ever since 2021, Target has been doing this Geek Out event that launches new exclusive figures, and this year they ended up doing some One Piece ones. They did the Chopper statue, which looks cute, this anime hero Zoro, which is the same as a regular release, but the skirt is black. And then they did a Luffy for this event, which is the same body as a Romance Dawn Luffy, but what's special about this guy is that he has some battle damaging on him. But it was sorta hard to notice in the promos, which did have me concerned if the actual in-hand release would be like this. And so, I went to Target and I got it. And now I have it back in my setup, so let's get this review started.
I'm gonna be the king of the pirates!
This Luffy comes packaged in a typical style that every One Piece figure gets in this line. It's clean as it suits the character well, and we can see the figure inside, and yeah, this empty space does not look good. Wish there was something there. Then there's some bigger promos of the figure, then here's its name and it mentions it's a Target limited edition, and then mentions it's a Target limited edition. Then below that mentions it's a Target limited edition. Oh, and below that says it's only at Target. Do you guys think this might be a Target exclusive figure? Yeah, me too. Jokes aside, it is funny how many times it's mentioned that it's a limited edition figure. Then, looking at the top of the box, it has that signature shot cutout that every release in this line gets. Then here's each side of the box. They just share a promo of the figure and its name. Oh, and that it's a Target limited edition. Here's the bottom, and yeah, I really don't know if I said it's a Target limited edition, but it is. Then, here's the back of the box. It shows off a good selection of things you can do with this figure, and mentions it's a Target limited edition. Okay, that's enough. The packaging is overall really clean, so let's go ahead and see how this Target limited edition figure is. And I'm not gonna cap, I actually really enjoy this figure. Like, it's obviously just a repaint, but for some reason, I've enjoyed posing it just as much as a Romance Dawn Luffy. He's just a good and fun figure. And so let's really start this review off by talking about the main selling point with this figure, his look. And yeah, it's the exact same sculpt and everything as a Romance Dawn Luffy, just repainted, but it's an exclusive and they are typically repaints. And I think this one looks great in hand and better in the promos. Not saying it looked bad in the promos, but in hand you can really see the new finish and stuff on it much better. Like, the main thing that's more prominent in hand is the battle damage, which are just scuff marks. I like them, I think they're done well, and there's actually a lot more of them than I thought. That's cool. Now, of course some blood would have been sick, such as like going down his arms or mouth, since Luffy around Romance Dawn did get pretty bloody in his encounters. But even without it, the scratches are a nice touch. And then at first I thought the scratches were the main thing that was different about the look, which is true, but another important thing is the new coloring and finish this figure has. This Luffy's clothes are darker to help reflect that he's been beaten up some. It actually looks really nice in person, and I'm happy with the color and the new shade on it. Like, his vest is much darker now, and the same for his shorts. Also, his buttons are gold instead of silver, which I actually think is more accurate, so that's awesome. And side by side with the Romance Dawn Luffy, we can see the differences in their appearances, and I love it. Seriously happy they didn't just put some scratches on this guy and call it a day. Instead we got new coloring and finish, and that's awesome. Also, I don't know if it's the finish or what, but this guy feels higher quality to me than the original, and he also moves better in some areas. So that's cool. But what might not be cool to many about this guy is the accessories. This figure comes with 3 less items than the Romance Dawn Luffy, which were the meat-eating face, and hand to hold his meat, boss, which thinks that they were excluded. Maybe they thought it wouldn't fit well with this figure, I don't know. They could have replaced those pieces though, with like a bloodied up fist and teeth gritted or serious face, you know. But maybe they didn't do that, since this is a Target exclusive, and knew that would make this figure way too sought after and unfair as an exclusive. Which is probably why this is the selection we got. Is it bad? I don't think so. The selection is still enough to have fun with this figure. He first comes with 3 interchangeable faceplates, a locked in teeth grinning face, a happy mouth open face, and an angry yelling face. Same faces that came with the Romance Dawn, but with scuff marks on them. Looks good, but of course a tiny bit of blood would have been nice. Then he comes with 2 alternative head sculpts, one for without his hat, which is the same as Romance Dawn's and looks fine, then one for wearing a hat. And this looks good for the most part, but sorta does suck that there isn't any scuff marks on the hat. Maybe this guy's based off of like Arlong Park Luffy and Nami had his hat on, I don't know. Not a big deal, but figured there'd be a scuff mark or 2 on it. Also, the hat with this figure doesn't want to fully sit on his head. It's not a major gap, but it's definitely not going on all the way, so that stinks. And being a curious booger I am, I tried the Romance Dawn Luffy's hat on this head and it fits fine, which led me to believe that it's the hat, and so I flipped them upside down and I found the issue. The little plastic piece that goes into the Luffy's forehead to connect the hat on is bigger and positioned a little differently than Romance Dawn's, which leads it to not going on all the way. That definitely stinks. Hope they can fix that if they ever reissue this figure. But you could probably fix this yourself by cutting some of it down. But please be cautious and careful if you do so. Then moving on to the hands, he comes with 2 fisted hands, 2 open sort of relaxed hands, 2 clenching hands, and a pointer finger hand. Good selection, but no scratches on them or anything, which is sort of disappointing because I was expecting some. And that's it for the accessories. For $35, it's not the worst, even with the accessories they took out. I'm guessing some of the budget could have went to the new finish and paint, so it's sort of fine to me. Also, yes, you can use other faceplates from other Luffys and use the Gum Gum kit with him, which looks really nice with this guy. And if you get this guy and the Gum Gum kit together, it'd be like $75 total. And that's honestly not bad at all, as you get plenty of accessories and a figure for that price, and I'd recommend doing so. Oh, and I bet you could use these faces on the Marineford Luffy and vice versa, which is awesome. But let's not get carried away yapping and look at his articulation. If you own the Romance on Luffy, then you should know this guy's articulation is going to be since it's the same. He can look up about this far, but with the hatless head it does look weird since it is gappy from some angles. The hat head though isn't like this. Then he looks incredibly far downwards, looks side to side well and gets good tilt all around. At the shoulders, to go up this far, not bad. Then the shoulder joint allows arms cross over one another going forwards and backwards. But be cautious because the shoulder joint design is definitely not the best as it can possibly split or break. This copy hasn't done it, but I have had Luffy figures in the past with this kind of joint have issues, so I'm just putting a warning here. Thankfully, no issues yet with the shoulders on my copy. Then he has a bicep swivel, elbows that get a good amount of flexion and great wrist articulation. And as for his torso, for some reason, the upper torso joint on this copy crunches further than the Romance on Luffy for me. I don't know why, but it does, or at least I think so. What do y'all think? Oh, and the upper torso also doesn't pop off when pushed too far like the Romance on Luffy, so that's cool as well. Then for going backwards, it really doesn't go that far, gets good side-to-side motion and awesome all-around tilt. Then move down to the waist, it works well as it allows for some fine side-to-side motion, good tilt, and for some forwards and backwards motion. And here's a total forwards crunch with the figure. I have no issues with the legs as they can kick this far forwards, go this far backwards, and this far outwards, which is nice. No thigh swivel, but it is coming, and man, I cannot wait. Then his knees are on ball joints so they can wiggle around and rotate. He does have the flap on the back of his shorts so the knees can get more flexion, still not good enough for me though. Really would have loved some double joint knees, or at least knee range that is better on our Luffys. Then at the ankles they can go up and down well, can twist side to side fine, and get a really good ankle rocker. And lastly, he has a toe joint which moves the sandals with it, and that's cool. So yeah, the articulation is pretty good for the most part and basically the same as Romance on Luffy's. So that means you should be able to get this guy into plenty of cool and fun poses. So let's now do some figure comparisons. Since it is the same body as the Romance on Luffy, he scales the same with your other One Piece figures. First, here he is next to Romance on Luffy, and as mentioned earlier, there's a difference in the looks and finishes on these guys, and the parts are interchangeable. Then here he is next to Zoro and Nami. Honestly, since this is him beat up, he should have become like a goofy swollen face of like after like Nami hit the shit out of him, you know? That would have been cool. Here he is next to Kaido, here he is next to Blackbeard, here he is next to Shanks, here he is next to Gon Aquila, here he is next to Storm Marine and Yujiro, here he is next to Team Gojo, here he is next to Demon Knuckle Fit Goku, and lastly, here he is next to Storm Collectibles, Yujiro Hama. So to wrap up my thoughts about this release, I gotta say I like it and I don't mind it. And I know, some of y'all think it's a trash and valueless release since I did cut some accessories from it and charge the same price. I totally get that, but the new look sorta makes that up for me. Plus, if you get them this week, you can actually get them for $26 at Target because of some Target Circled Week thing going on. And I got mine for that price, which is a heck of a deal. But even the base price at $35 isn't that bad for this guy either, since he actually has some paint and shading on him and looks awesome. So if you want this guy, go to Target now or get him on app because I'm sure he's still in there. But if you aren't from America and want this guy, I'm sorry. Region exclusives really stink, but maybe that's why they didn't give him something like the beat up Goofy face or bloody parts, since that would make him a very sought after release and that would just be unfair. So for an exclusive, I think this is an acceptable release as it's good enough to sell, but not something that any collector has to have. Plus there's other battle damage Luffys coming out that should be easier to get, especially that Marineford one as that one's releasing everywhere. But yeah, I've been enjoying this figure and I'm sure other One Piece fans will as well. And that's it for this one, guys. I appreciate y'all watching and y'all tell me what y'all think about this figure and do y'all think it's worth it. I'd love to hear it. Thanks a bunch for watching and y'all's continued support, and never forget that it's a Target limited edition. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's to never forget that One Piece is on top.